was a disco queen. She came from New Orleans. Catfish was her name. Dancing was a claim to fame.
What's up, guys? So, I'm gonna talk a little bit about the race, not too much. This should be a shorter video than usual, um, and let you know what I thought about it. And let's see, hold on a second. All right. So, before I talk about the NASCAR race, I want to point something out. Earlier today, IndyCar ran at Texas. I normally don't get to watch those races, but they usually happen when I'm on my way to work. Like they run really early sometimes. But when I got to work, uh, I was able to catch the last 35 or 40 laps, right? So it was just the end, sort of the end of the race. But I got to see some of it, and I'll tell you, it's the race was. If the rest of the race was like that, it was an amazing race. But what little I saw, I thought was great. Um, the announcing was great. Everything. Really exciting. There were a handful of guys that could win that race, and I just wanted to point that out. It was an amazing race at Texas of all places. Of the track everyone hates. But it works for open wheel, right? So for IndyCar, it put on a hell of a show. It looked like a great. Uh, it was a great product, right? So I really enjoyed that. That little bit that I caught like a good 35 or 40 laps. And yeah, it was exciting. It was cool. So I wanted to throw that out there. So moving on to the race at Richmond today, I'm just going to keep it simple. Um, it was definitely the best Richmond race I have seen in years, right? I don't remember the last time I saw a Richmond race that was this good, right? Was it perfect? No, of course not, and that's fine, right? It's sports. Uh, so for me, if you look at the screen here, I like this thing they added. I wanna give credit where it's due. I have been extremely critical of NASCAR and of course the Fox broadcast, but I do want to take a moment to point out, a couple of positives, right? One, I do like this thing they added here. I still hate this big ass box. It takes up too much of the screen. I still like the old scrolling ticker across the top, but I do like this uh, line, right? And it shows you every caution that happens and all the green flag, right? And then, of course, it's chopped into stages. NASCAR, wake up, get rid of the stages altogether. I don't know what they're waiting for. Everybody appreciated it to being taken out of the road courses. Um, and yeah, it still gets in the way. But uh, I like seeing where the cautions happened. You can see how often they happen. You could see in the first stage here, you got two cautions really close to each other. The first stage of the race was, in my opinion, pretty average. There was nothing special about it. It wasn't bad, right? It wasn't terrible. It was just pretty average. And that's okay. But I was starting to get the feeling that it was going to turn out to be sort of like Phoenix, right? Another track where the race we saw earlier this year was pretty average. It wasn't, it had its moments. Um, Phoenix hasn't really put on great racing, right? In a long time. It's just the way that track is for these cup cars. It's just, I don't know. It always turns out to be pretty meh, right? But it's okay. An average race is okay every once in a while. They're not all going to be amazing, right? And I will take an average race every time over what we saw at Coda and before that Atlanta. Um, Coda had Similar to this race, a good middle part, right? Where they had that long green flag run. And that's always where these races are best, where you get to see things like tire wear, attrition, handling issues, um, and a lot of comers and goers, right? And strategy kicks in as well. And that's what old school racing has always been about, and what we've lost, right, in the past few years with NASCAR chasing low attention span fans by introducing, these stages and all these green, white checker bullshit, uh, all the stuff we've talked about. But uh, the ending of Coda was just so horrendous that it just, to me, it couldn't salvage itself, right? In spite of that middle run that was really, really turning out to be really good. So, but today was a bit different. The overall race never got to where it was a shit show. So we didn't, without that shit show, it elevated the race, right? So with this middle ground, you could see here that, like I said, the first stage was pretty average. You had two cautions. The second stage was really good, right? So you did get a caution early in that second stage, but then the race went green for a long time. There was green flag pit stops. There were comers and goers. There were people struggling with tires. When do I pit? If you pit too late, you lose a lot of time on the track. So much going on. But then we got, as you could see here, this black mark here. That is the end of the second stage. Again, without that stage break, who knows what could have happened, right? It was really, really getting good. So NASCAR, wake up, get your heads out of your asses, just get rid of it already. It's a bummer, right? But in spite of that stage caution, it didn't hurt things as much as it usually does. We got back to green for that last stage, the last stage of the race, and you got a good long green run, and then you had that caution, and that's what threw everything kind of out the window. People pitting. I think they had pitted already. There was another green flag pit stop, which was great, right? So we got to see two green flag pit stops, lots of green racing. Then there was that caution where people decided to pit, and it changed a lot of strategy. Truex ended up having to go back to old scuff tires. They only had 6 laps on them, but that's a lot, right? So the race continues, and then you had that caution. Bell made a mistake. You had these guys right after a restart. There was another caution, then a restart, and then it was a quick caution. That's why you see this yet last yellow line here. There were like two cautions almost right after each other, and these are the type of things that does dampen things a little bit, right? It didn't ruin the race for me, unless if you're a William Byron fan, yeah, it ruined it for you. But overall, okay, it threw a little, it kind of pulled things down from where it could have been, but it didn't ruin the race, especially since we got to see the race finish, right? To the end. We didn't have to do a green white checker overtime. So that was another big positive. Like I said, Bell got into Byron. I think he overcorrected. He tried to block Chastain, who was dive bombing inside. Yeah, off a restart late in the race. That's what these guys are going to do. They're going to be extra aggressive. They're going to go for it. It didn't bother me so much today. This isn't Coda, where you have that ridiculous hairpin first turn. You could actually dive bomb a bit here and be aggressive and be side by side. The turn here is a lot more forgiving. So this is an example of where stock car, where do you put a stock car? And you see here, you can get away with that. You can get better restarts here. At Coda, you're asking for disaster. At the Indy road course, same thing, disaster. it works, right? So even though those cautions and restarts, it kind of dampened where the race was going. It kind of pulled it down a bit, but it didn't hurt the race to the point where it's like, okay, it just ruined it. It didn't. Like I said, if you look at this here, it gives you a good gauge of what the race was like, and it wasn't bad. So I do like that Fox added this. They deserve some credit for that, right? This was a good thing. Um, they still have so much work to do. And the other thing I'm going to give them a little bit of credit is the overall broadcast didn't feel as bad. Why? I'm not really sure. One, the joking and the fucking clown shit, I found it to be missing for the most part. They were kind of just doing their job. And I like that. So that's another thing I wanted to talk about that IndyCar race today. The broadcast, the announcing, it just elevates the racing. And the end of that race was exciting. And you can hear it with the announcing and everything. Lots of action at the end. And again, at Texas, of all places. So I, that's what NASCAR needs a little bit more of, that serious excitement, right? The serious excitement where the announcers are just laser focused on what's happening on the track. They're not trying to be funny. They're not trying to find a joke to force in there or try to be. They're just like, this is what's happening and it's exciting and you can hear it in their voice. That's what people, I think, want to see. And that's where Fox is severely lacking. But I'm going to play some of this for you guys so you can see the end and just get a feel for it, right? But I did feel like it was better than what you normally see. Was it a huge improvement? No. But it was a bit more tolerable today, and I really hope Fox is paying some attention because we got to get away from the things they've been doing for the past few years, trying to be funny, trying to be entertainment. Sports is entertaining if you let it be what it is. When you add gimmicks, when you're trying too hard and you're turning it into something that's not really a sport, it ruins it, right? And I do believe that's the biggest reason why ratings have been steadily going down for years. Ratings tell the story. You can make all the excuses you want to defend gimmicks like winning you're in, these ridiculous multiple green white checker restarts, and these stages. You don't need these things, right? The sport was always good. Let the action speak for itself. And when you give these drivers just that ability to race without all the extra bells and whistles, you'll see a better product. So today was a good example of that. Um, and I wanted to give Fox a little credit there. Like, was it conscious? I don't think so. I don't know. But for whatever reason, it was a more toned down broadcast, and it just felt like they let the race speak for itself, right? So let's listen a little bit.
Won the race here yesterday in Xfinity Series, sitting there inside the top 20 in that third colic car.
I'm sorry, guys. It sounds really low. Hold on a second. Uh, I hope you can hear it.
Started last, 37th. Did a great job today. A weekend that he will long remember. Bowman Truex, this is for 8. As they come to 4 to go. Ty Gibbs in that 54 car, if he can get to the top 10, and that's the battle for 10th, it would be his 3rd consecutive top 10 finish. Great start to his rookie season. Thank him for carrying the Monster Energy Cam today.
Just keeps getting, to your point, keeps getting, a little better each and every week, getting his feet underneath of him. You can feel and sense that he's getting way more comfortable racing against these Cup boys. results are speaking for themselves. 3 to go here. Both IndyCars up front. Man, I know this Kyle Larson is really wanting this win. But Josh Berry in that 9 car, what an unbelievable ending for that 9 car if this plays out this way. For that kid as a fill-in driver, crew chief making some bold calls on that box as a fill-in crew chief. Heck of a story.
Kyle Larson wants to see the checkered flag, but he definitely wants to see this next flag because it'll be official.
Harvick closing on Christopher Bell for 4. 1 lap to go, sponsored by Credit One Bank.
Okay, one lap to go. I'll let it play to the end, but just focus on, okay, it's better because it's not as bad as we've seen earlier, right? But there is excitement missing. There's just something there. There's not a lot of energy. And if you saw that IndyCar race earlier today, I'm going to try to find a clip. It's just night and day. And MSNBC, right? You know, Burton and Junior bring a lot more energy to the whole broadcast. And these guys, they're just missing energy. So when I did give them credit because that clown stuff and all this extra garbage wasn't really there today. So they kind of let the race speak for itself. And that by itself is a massive improvement over what they normally do. Is this going to be the case every week? I don't know. I'm just talking about today compared to what we've been seeing. So for that, I gave them some credit, right? And I like this, you know, this graph, I guess you could call it. I think it's cool. It really lets you know the sort of the pace of the race, and you can tell when you have these long green flag moments. And it's not a coincidence. The best part of the race is between this caution and this one. Like that's where you had that long green flag run, green flag pit stops. But yeah, this black marker here is that stage caution. But by the time it came out, we had seen a lot. Cars getting lapped, strategy, tires, fuel. We saw a lot, right? So it did throw a little damper on it, but not as much as usual. But yeah, let's hear the end of this.
Just in the pre-race, we were talking about Kyle, man, being a little bit underrated this year, or whatever, maybe overrated.
And then we'll
I'm
go to
telling you,
the IndyCar.
this win puts him right back where he wants to be. Had some tough finishes, back on top.
First win of the season for Kyle Larson. 1.5 seconds ahead of teammate Josh Berry.
And of course, they're still doing this stupid comic book stuff. I mean, I don't know why they just won't let it go, but whatever. It's not really the worst thing of everything. There's so much things that we can nitpick.
Ross Chastain third.
Job today. Great recovery. Sorry I got pissed off for a little while.
These last
Okay, so you could see there's a lot of energy that's missing from these broadcasts. I don't expect the entire broadcast from start to finish to be like fucking on steroids, right? But when you wind down to the end of the race, I don't know, man. Like there's a part of me that just says, well, let it play natural, right? But these guys just don't have that energy. I don't know, man. There's got to be, and like I said, when you watch a broadcast with Jeff Burton and Dale Jr. together, the energy level is much higher. It's just better. But again, the overall broadcast today was slightly better than usual, right? So I wanted to give them some credit for that. I try to be fair. So let's see the ending of IndyCar today. All right, well, where is it? Hold on. There were some cautions in that race too. Let's see.
Look at Newgarden driving the car behind him, trying to make dirty air for Award. Award's got a great run. He might get to the front.
They almost hit. They almost hit the front two.
You want to talk about crowding? Now
Listen
is the
to that
case in
excitement.
point. Pato Award getting right up beside the number 2 of Joseph Newgarden. Not trying to give him an inch more than he needs. Trying to force that lift right now. Both drivers flat out. The spotters are working overtime right now, Townsend.
And these are two very clean race drivers. Make it 3 as Alex Palou wants to mix it up once again, but Award hanging high, but he's using up
This is Texas. Keep that in mind.
those tires up on the slipperier surface. Looks like Grosjean crashed.
Grosjean! Romain Grosjean out for the second race in a row in the closing phases.
And Joseph Newgarden is leading as the yellow.
Listen to that excitement, even for a wreck. You know, when you watch a Fox broadcast, it's just like, oh, he spun out, hit the wall, car's destroyed. Oh, that's a shame.
Comes out with 2 to go. They're coming to get the white guys. That might be the day.
That will be the day. Final lap in the PPG 370.
And also, no green-white checker, overtime. If it ends, it ends like it used to be. And somehow we let low attention span complainers convince NASCAR that there was a problem they needed to fix. And they have problems they need to fix. But, you know, the squeaky wheel gets the grease. I've always said that. And they got enough people who screamed loud enough about it that NASCAR said, we're going to give you as many fucking overtimes as it takes till you get a winner in under green. And that's dumb. Because we've seen it play out. We've seen multiple restarts. And how it just changes the entire complexion of the race in a negative way. This race wasn't hurt because it just ended. It was the last lap. Caution came out. Over. And that's it. Exciting finish.
75 is the PPG car of Joseph Newgarden. Crosses the line and woes up.
And for the second race in a row, Pato Award will be denied right at the end of the race.
And he only just got Pato Award, so for the second race at Texas in a row, Joseph Newgarden's going to do it essentially what was the last green lap pass for the win.
Anyway, I wanted you guys to get a taste of the way the excitement, the broadcast of IndyCar. I'm no expert on IndyCar, but I got a good taste of the end of the race, right? I got to watch almost 40 laps. It was exciting. The fact that it happened at Texas, it's a reminder, right? When I talked about COTA last week and I told people that track just isn't, it's not made for stock cars, you know? Doesn't mean it's a bad track. It's a really cool looking track. It's very modern, very sleek, but there's specific turns in that track that if they could somehow just change it for stock cars, like the layout at certain road courses, they eliminate certain turns, right? Not every track uses every turn, right? There was the carousel at Sonoma. They added it and then they took it away. Then they did so there's a certain layout that works better for stock cars. And it may not work for stock cars, but it works for open wheel. You know, Watkins Glen, there's a whole boot, a part of the track that's not used for Cup or stock cars, right? You know, certain things are not made for stock cars. And this track, everyone agrees, you know, they ruined it for NASCAR, right? Stock cars, trucks, whatever. But you bring IndyCar, you know, an open wheel car here, and look, it's night and day different. I have a hard time believing there's too many other tracks where you're going to get a better race with IndyCar than here. Again, I don't know shit about IndyCar, but I thought that was awesome today, what I saw. And I wanted to point it out and show you the difference between the broadcasts. So anyhow, and it ends under caution, over. Where you finish is where you finish. that's the way it is, right? No, let's do it again. Let's do it again. Let's do it again till this thing actually finishes under green. It is what it is. It's sports. So, anyhow, I did enjoy uh, the race today. I thought it was pretty good. It could have been better, but I give it a solid 7.5 out of 10. That's above average. This race was really good at times, right? Like I said, it started off kind of so-so, right? It wasn't terrible, but it was okay. And then it got really good. Then you got that last stage caution. Then you got another caution. A couple of cautions kind of put a little damper towards the end, but it didn't ruin it, right? It wasn't terrible. Um, yeah, I enjoyed the race. I thought it was really good, especially for Richmond. It's definitely the best Richmond race I've seen in years. And last thing, I almost forgot, but um, while we're handing out some credit where it's due, I have to give NASCAR credit um, for making adjustments to the package for short track. Um, they ran the same package that they ran at Phoenix. Phoenix was very average. Wasn't terrible, but it was average. But I didn't notice that big of a difference with the package. Here, I noticed it at Richmond. Um, Definitely big difference. In fact, the package worked so well under green, tire wear, handling, all that stuff. Um, that's when you know if a package works. When you're just doing a bunch of quick restarts, you can't really tell. But yeah, the package is a success at Richmond. At Phoenix, couldn't really tell, right? But they did something right. They made an adjustment and they deserve credit. And I want to make sure to credit NASCAR. Whatever you do, don't mess with it. Like, at least for Richmond, it works. And we haven't seen a good Richmond race in a long time, right? Now, I've never had that on the top of my list as far as tracks I hate to or complain about. Even though the racing hasn't been that great, it hasn't been terrible either, right? It's never been a shit show. It's just been sort of middle of the road. And when they started chasing pack racing and wide open throttle racing, that's where it really hit rock bottom. And that's where it's been for the past few years. But man, I'll tell you, that race today was above average, very entertaining in my opinion, and really got to see 2 green flag pit stops in the race. Strategy, all that good stuff. I'm really happy with the race today. So I thought it was a 7.5 out of 10. That's an above average race, right? So yeah, and it was good watching it. I think coming off of 2 straight weeks of just really bad experience, right? Again, outside of that middle part of the race at Coda, just wasn't good. So yeah, 7.5 out of 10. I look forward to your comments later.
She was a disco queen. She came from New Orleans.